I'm a radio man for 35 years, doing an old variety show based on some I used to hear when I was your age years ago. Critics pointed out my debts to Bob and Ray and Fibber McGee, but alcohol and cigarettes swept those critics out to sea. And to 20-year-olds who were born too late to hear the great Fred Allen, I'm the inventor of the form, sailing the airwaves like Magellan. A thief who escapes and is not hung may yet be honored by the young. Ooh, the secret of a long career is to keep going and not fade, and not think about your reputation even for 1 minute. It's like becoming the tallest boy in the 6th grade. You stick around and you're bound to win it. Fyodor Dostoevsky over time found a punishment to fit the crime, and slowly as a centipede trots off, he wrote the Brothers Karamazov. Mrs. Joyce cried out in bliss, he's finally finished with Ulysses. James had a smoke and took a break and started in on Finnegan's Wake. So do your work, keep going straight ahead, and you can be a genius someday after you are dead. We have this scholarship fund in Lake Wobegon. The Shining Star Scholarship Fund, and the Sons of Canute raise money for it every year to send a promising young person off to college, which is not really a good investment for our town, since once they leave, they never come back. And so we've lost them, the best and the brightest. They go off elsewhere. We're a great exporter of people in Lake Wobegon. It's a good place to grow up, and then after that you start to look for someplace else. So they raise money for the Shining Star Scholarship Fund through the Guess the Ice Melt contest, which is taking place right now in Lake Wobegon. The old Pontiac, which they've used for years, it's a 51 Pontiac purple. Nobody would drive a car like that, so they use it for this contest. It sits out there on the ice on Lake Wobegon with a chain around the front axle, and you guess the day and the hour when it will go through the ice, and pay $1 per guess, and the winner wins a rototiller, and the proceeds go to send somebody off to college who is never going to come back, and maybe not even write us letters or anything. Maybe go off somewhere and write satiric stories about us and make fun of us. What a payment, what a reward for bringing up a child in gratitude. But there it is, the Pontiac sitting out there on the ice. And maybe in some ways a car about to go through the ice is some metaphor for education. It's a kind of disaster that does good somehow. We believe that it will be. The world is full of overeducated people. Is this a good thing? I'm not sure. We have people who are trained to be writers, and who are trained to be teachers and philosophers, who are frying hamburgers. Is this a happy life? We're not sure about this. We don't know. People are being trained to be singers who will be unemployed for a good part of their lives. And the wisdom of this is something that we could talk about. But in Lake Wobegon, somehow they believe in education. They believe in it, that you should make the most of yourself that you possibly can. You should not be, as my Aunt Eleanor said, you should not be a $10 haircut on a 59-cent head. You should be all that you can be, and maybe along the way you will learn a decent sense of humility. One never knows. The turning point for me, though, did not come in school. It came when I took moral authority into my own hands, and I pushed beyond the boundaries. School was there to remind us of the boundaries. This was back when people trusted the schools. We sent children off with a little lunch money and a little tiny manila envelope, and we told them to do whatever the teacher said. And so they got whatever the teacher had to offer. But on this fall day that I'm thinking of, I was just down in Greenville, South Carolina, yesterday, where my older sister now lives, and seeing her yesterday reminded me of this story. Her children were with her, so I couldn't tell the story in front of them. She was my older sister. She still is my older sister, and long may she be. And I was the middle child, and so I was sort of the invisible child. She was the older sister, and she was quite lovely. Still is in her own way, but she was very lovely, and so she was going to go to Halloween. This was in the middle, third week of October, about the time winter starts for good in Minnesota. We were out to pick the pumpkins for the Halloween party at school, and she was looking for a perfect round pumpkin. She was going to the party as a princess, and so she would carry it in her arms and touch it with her wand, you know, the way magical people do. I was going to go as a hobo, which a third child gets. You know, your mother only has so much time to work on costumes, and I rather enjoyed being a hobo and smearing my face with burnt cork and putting a little kerchief around a stick and wearing ragged clothes. It felt liberating. When you're surrounded by Lutherans, you look to these things. We were out there, and this was the third week of October, and so there had been several hard frosts, and she was looking for a pumpkin that had survived the frosts, and I saw in the tomato patch next to it an enormous tomato as big as a pumpkin, which had come to rest on the ground. The vine could no longer hold it. It was just enormous. And the frosts had turned it interesting shades of orange and yellow and some black and red and also maroon and crimson. And I slipped my hand under it. I was of a scientific bent back then, and I lifted it up and I held it up, and I could see tiny white life forms swimming frantically around in it, as if they knew they had not much time left, and they had a sense of doom. I watched them closely, and they were making figures inside there and racing around, little bacilla, little paramecia, racing around so fast, and I could imagine looking at them, studying them for a while, that they had their own system, their own society, their own government and culture, their own literature perhaps, these primitive life forms. But who are we to call something primitive? We who bomb and destroy people we don't even know. And here they were inside this enormous tomato. They perhaps even had their own religion, and if they did, then I was the God that they had prophesied. I was the God who held them in his hand. I put my face up next to them so they would think of me as a warm, friendly God. And I sang to them. I sang, "Abide with